Rachel Reeves, the very woman who ascended to power on grand promises of fairness and economic justice, often spoke from the iconic steps of Parliament and in prominent national news studios. She emphatically claimed her tax policies would only impact the ultra-rich. Yet, the harsh reality was that her policies utterly devastated countless working and middle-class families across the country. Consider this: by cruelly freezing the inheritance tax threshold at a mere £325,000, despite house prices soaring, and then adding pensions to taxable assets, she transformed ordinary inheritances into absolute financial nightmares. Imagine, people earning as little as £20,000 suddenly found themselves facing crippling tax bills of £170,000 or even more when their loved ones passed away. Homes that had been in families for generations were sold, lifelong savings simply vanished, and small businesses, the backbone of our communities, collapsed. Families, already grappling with profound grief, suddenly found themselves hounded by the taxman. And while all of this suffering was unfolding, Ms. Reeves, in stark contrast, was secretly securing her own legacy. Court documents reveal she orchestrated a series of complex transfers, moving key family assets into offshore trusts, safely tucked away in secrecy havens like Jersey and Luxembourg. Properties were discreetly hidden within shell companies, and pension holdings were funneled through private agreements that shamelessly exploited international loopholes. The very legal tactics she publicly condemned became her private tools of protection. The message, I think you'll agree, couldn't be clearer: one tax regime for the ordinary public, and another, far more lenient, for those in power. This astonishing deception was brought to light by a courageous whistleblower within HMRC, triggering an urgent investigation that ultimately landed before the Supreme Court. Their findings? Absolutely damning. Reeves didn't merely make poor financial decisions, she executed a calculated, cynical plan to exploit the very tax laws she helped to write. Judges unhesitatingly accused her of a cynical abuse of power, and declared her guilty of what she herself once called a national disgrace, tax avoidance. In response, the court ordered a full seizure of her personal and family assets. This scandal, my dear listeners, is about far more than just figures on a balance sheet. It's about trust. Trust in our leadership, trust in our government, and fundamentally, trust in the principle of fairness. Rachel Reeves sold herself as a champion of the people, but when the spotlight shifted, she played by an entirely different set of rules. The backlash, as you can imagine, has been immediate and utterly brutal. Social media erupted within minutes. One viral post captured the national mood perfectly: she taxed the poor and shielded the rich herself. Another simply stated, she lied. We paid. Now justice has paid her back. Furthermore, families devastated by Reeves's policies are now bravely stepping forward to share their heartbreaking stories of lost homes, wiped out inheritances, and profound emotional devastation. And now, they finally know that the person behind their pain wasn't just negligent, she was actively protecting herself from the very chaos she created for them. The Supreme Court's ruling has, quite predictably, ignited a sweeping legal firestorm. Lawyers from HMRC and the Serious Fraud Office have already raided locations connected to Reeves's intricate financial network. Sources confirm that encrypted communications, internal memos, and even offshore bank data have been seized. Investigators are now meticulously combing through more than a decade of her financial history, and if further violations are uncovered, criminal charges may well follow. This is being hailed as the most significant tax evasion case against a sitting chancellor in British history. One judge summed it up chillingly: her conduct undermines the very foundation of public trust in government taxation. Initially, Westminster was utterly silent. But that silence was shattered the moment the court's detailed, 38-page ruling was leaked to the public, word for word, line by line. It exposed Reeves's elaborate operation to safeguard millions in wealth while she simultaneously pretended to fight for tax justice. Among the most damning revelations, it emerged that Reeves had long denied owning any offshore assets, dismissing such allegations as mere, right-wing smears. How different the truth has turned out to be. But, and this is where it gets truly shocking, the court unequivocally revealed that her late father's estate had been funneled into obscure, Jersey-based shell entities. Some of these were, astonishingly, set up just months before she introduced her very own inheritance tax reforms. Even more scandalous was an undisclosed pension trust in Luxembourg, cleverly shielded under complex EU cross-border laws and routed through third-party beneficiaries. These aren't the tools available to ordinary citizens, are they? No, these are the sophisticated weapons of oligarchs and elites. Yet, Rachel Reeves had access to them, and she used them with chilling precision to protect her own wealth. But now, that house of cards has utterly collapsed. Her once promising career, her carefully cultivated credibility, and her meticulously constructed public image now lie in complete ruins. In an age of escalating public anger and genuine economic hardship, this scandal isn't just another fleeting footnote in the annals of political corruption. No, this is a profound turning point, a true reckoning. And Rachel Reeves may soon discover that the court of public opinion is even more unforgiving than the Supreme Court that just stripped her of her fortune. The Rachel Reeves scandal has ignited a firestorm of national outrage and triggered nothing short of a political meltdown. In a mere matter of days, Rachel Reeves has plummeted from being Labour's seemingly ironclad fiscal champion to a symbol of elite hypocrisy and outright betrayal. The Supreme Court's damning ruling, exposing her blatant use of offshore trusts and undeclared assets while she was simultaneously championing harsh inheritance tax laws, has sent shockwaves right through the heart of Westminster and far beyond. Reeves, who built her entire reputation on lecturing the nation about tax fairness, has now been unmasked as the very kind of operator she so vehemently condemned. While ordinary British families were being hit with truly eye-watering inheritance tax bills often exceeding a staggering £170,000 on even modest estates, it turns out Ms. Reeves was secretly shielding over £4.6 million in inherited assets. This was achieved through a complex network of offshore structures, secretive shell companies, and those undisclosed pension accounts. Her policies, let's be clear, transformed modest family homes into tax traps, lifelong family savings into what felt like government loot, and hard-earned retirements into fiscal prey. At first, the Labour leadership, predictably, attempted to spin the story. Senior officials tried to downplay these explosive revelations as merely an administrative misunderstanding. But as more and more damning documents surfaced, court filings, offshore records, and even leaked parliamentary memos, the evidence became simply too overwhelming, too damning to dismiss. And the deafening silence from Downing Street only served to deepen public suspicion. The backlash from the British people has been immediate and utterly ferocious. In less than 24 hours, over 1 million signatures flooded petitions demanding Reeves's immediate resignation. Protesters, brimming with righteous anger, rallied outside Parliament, proudly displaying signs that read, "Reeves lied, we paid," and the poignant, "Where's our trust fund, Rachel?" Longtime Labour supporters, many of whom were hit hardest by her inheritance tax reforms, now feel utterly betrayed, not just by one politician, but by an entire political machine that, it seems, enabled her. Economists are now issuing grave warnings that the fallout from this scandal could irreparably destroy public trust in the tax system itself. If the public truly believes that our laws are deliberately designed to target them while conveniently exempting the elite, then compliance, quite simply, will collapse. Financial planners are reporting a surge in clients desperately scrambling to protect what little they have left. "Why should I pay if Rachel Reeves didn't?" asked one viral video, echoing a sentiment that is now spreading like wildfire across the entire country. The media, once cautiously optimistic about Reeves's economic vision, has now turned on her with a vengeance. Headlines across all major outlets are screaming, "Hypocrite Chancellor," and "Labour's tax queen exposed." It's truly a monumental fall from grace. Editorials across the nation are now unanimously demanding accountability. Political commentators, from both sides of the aisle, are in rare agreement. This seismic scandal has utterly torpedoed Labour's credibility when it comes to economic policy. Even within the Labour Party, MPs are bravely breaking ranks. A growing chorus of backbenchers now openly believe that Rachel Reeves must resign, and swiftly, to stop the bleeding. One MP, speaking anonymously, admitted bluntly, "This isn't survivable. Our credibility on taxation is simply gone." The fallout from this scandal is also beginning to affect the wider economy. The pound has slipped, investor confidence is visibly rattled, and small business owners, many of whom are in your audience, are now seriously reconsidering their plans to pass on family businesses to future generations. Oh, the irony! Reeves's very policies made inheritance planning a toxic nightmare, and now, caught in her own trap, she's dragging not just Labour but potentially the entire British economy down with her. The Supreme Court's ruling, it turns out, wasn't the end of this saga, it was only the beginning. Tory MPs, Reform UK, and even the Liberal Democrats are now vociferously calling for a full, independent inquiry. Whispers within the hallowed halls of Parliament suggest that asset freezes may well extend to other Labour officials if similar clandestine tactics are uncovered. And at the very epicenter of this maelstrom, Rachel Reeves herself remains stubbornly silent. No apology, no resignation, no statement whatsoever. Just a wall of silence as the entire nation demands answers. Inside Labour HQ, one can only imagine the panic setting in. Leaked internal memos describe frantic emergency meetings, not to defend Reeves, but to grimly calculate how long the party can possibly afford to keep her in place before their entire operation spectacularly implodes. It's not just her scandal, one shadow cabinet source revealed, it's the rot we ignored for far too long. New transparency laws have now chillingly revealed detailed documents proving Reeves concealed her assets with almost surgical precision. These include multiple property transfers to an undeclared family trust, undisclosed offshore retirement accounts, and a secret arrangement through the Cayman Islands, funneling dividends from her late father's firm through a relative's name. This wasn't merely sloppy accounting, it was a calculated, deliberate betrayal of the very system she helped design. The anger spreading across Britain isn't limited to politicians and pundits, oh no. It's deeply, painfully personal for the millions of British families who lost homes, pensions, and lifelong savings under Reeves's crushing policies. They now know, with absolute certainty, that she made sure her own estate was untouched. She used their sacrifice, their heartbreak, to sell a blatant lie. And that betrayal, I believe you'll agree, has cut far deeper than any policy ever could. Even Treasury officials are now desperately distancing themselves from her, leaving her utterly isolated. Adding to the unfolding drama, former advisers have now bravely come forward, claiming they were explicitly told to ignore glaring red flags in Ms. Reeves's financial disclosures. One stated bluntly, "We flagged it. The instructions were clear, don't dig." And the political cost, my dear listeners, is mounting at an alarming rate. Labour's poll numbers are sliding fast, and once safe constituencies are now showing astonishing double-digit swings towards other parties. MPs are being shouted down in town halls, facing the raw anger of the public. In Parliament itself, Ms. Reeves is now routinely greeted with a chorus of jeers, heckles, and shouts of "thief" and "how dare you lecture us." The Speaker has been forced to call for order multiple times, a truly extraordinary sight. This, make no mistake, is no longer just a scandal, it's a full-scale collapse of Labour's moral authority. With a general election looming, the timing couldn't be worse. Labour's supposed star economist is now its single biggest liability. Its entire tax policy lies in ruins, and its loyal base is, quite rightly, in open revolt. Because this isn't just about one corrupt politician, it's about a system that seemingly allowed her to thrive. And Rachel Reeves, astonishingly, still hasn't resigned. It's not just about Rachel Reeves herself, it's about what she represents, a political elite that brazenly plays by one set of rules while ruthlessly punishing everyone else with another. And the legal fallout, we are being told, is only just beginning. A second wave of investigations is already probing whether Ms. Reeves violated the ministerial code by failing to declare her offshore interests. If proven, that could mean automatic suspension from Parliament. Even worse, regulators are now meticulously examining if her hidden pension schemes benefited from insider policy knowledge, a truly terrifying thought that could push this scandal from mere tax evasion into the realm of criminal financial fraud. This isn't just about tax, one expert gravely warned. It's about whether a minister used public office for personal gain. And if so, she certainly didn't act alone. The next phase of this investigation, we are told, could potentially expose a wider circle within Labour, complicit in this egregious scheme. The Supreme Court ruling indeed hit like an earthquake. Reeves was unequivocally found to have used artificial financial vehicles and undisclosed trusts to hide inherited wealth, assets she actively helped shield from tax while simultaneously demanding struggling families pay more. Her entire estate is now frozen, a full audit has been ordered, and the court's ruling has set a precedent with implications that stretch far beyond just Ms. Reeves. Already, Parliament is under immense pressure to pass sweeping transparency reforms. MPs from all parties are now under intense scrutiny as a single, piercing question echoes through the country: if Rachel Reeves could do this, who else did? Behind closed doors, serious criminal referrals are being discussed. Legal advisors are saying that Ms. Reeves could soon face charges of tax fraud, failure to declare foreign income, and grave breaches of ministerial conduct. These are not minor technicalities, these carry the very real weight of potential prison time and immediate disqualification from public office. Labour now faces a brutal, impossible choice: defend Rachel Reeves and risk a complete electoral collapse, or cut her loose in a desperate attempt to salvage what's left of their shattered credibility. But on the ground, the backlash is already a tangible, furious reality. Outraged voters are confronting local Labour officials, demanding answers and accountability. Some have even threatened to withdraw their support altogether. For many, the betrayal is deeply, painfully personal. Reeves, let's remember, positioned herself as a champion of fairness. She stood before working-class families and told them they had to sacrifice more for the good of the country. But while she taxed their pensions, seized their modest homes, and effectively shut down their family businesses, she was, all the while, secretly shielding her own vast wealth in offshore accounts. Now, even the Treasury is in turmoil. Internal audits are frantically underway, and financial models are being rechecked after it shockingly emerged that Reeves's team had omitted key tax loopholes from policy impact reports, deliberately downplaying just how harsh her reforms would be on ordinary families. Across social media, calls for her resignation have exploded into a national outcry. The hashtags #ReevesGate and #TaxJusticeNow are trending, dominating conversations. Protesters are gathered outside Labour HQ and the Treasury itself, and those petitions have now passed 1 million signatures. Yet, the Labour leadership remains stubbornly silent. And that silence, my dear listeners, is beginning to look disturbingly like complicity. This is no longer just a scandal. It's a national reckoning. If we let this fade, if we allow those in power to escape justice again, then we send a clear, dangerous message: accountability doesn't apply to them. But it absolutely must. Because when politicians lie, it is always the people who pay the price.